This is personally a properly exciting day as we launch a new cable into the electrical industry, and that means I'm joined by Aaron Walstow from Doncaster Cables, serial inventor of cables, and this is the fourth one. But I'd personally like to take some credit for this because this video is not being released, unlike my previous one on April the 1st. I had a very similar cable to the one we've just seen in the opening shot. So is it all down to me, Aaron?
It's not, and I could have cried on that day. So the date when this project started was the 22nd of November 2022, and that date will stick in my mind.
Okay, and that's before the April of last year that I released my one.
It is before the April of last year, and we've also been asked a few times before, can we add in a green yellow into the twin and earth to make electricians' lives easier? Before your video and before the 22nd of November 2022.
So why hasn't it been done before then, Aaron, if there's a need for it?
There's quite a few reasons. So one is the size of the cable. So cable is heavily standardised. Twin and earth in particular has been going for many, many years. But if you add a green yellow around the CPC, the cable naturally needs to get bigger. It then won't fit into clips. If the cable's bigger, there's more sheathing compound around the outside, which then means it costs more money. There's the basic approval part to consider. So once you put the green yellow in, it doesn't comply with BS6004, the cable won't be basic approved. So lots and lots of challenges to overcome. Okay,
everyone's just heard lots of things there that sound like this cable, the EarthSure that I named myself. Is that true?
It's not true. You wanted to call it CPC Shore, which doesn't have the same ring as EarthSure, so we've called it EarthSure.
Okay, we're going to tell you later on in the video how much it's going to cost in order to get it into the back of your van. But why didn't they do this protective conductor actually identified in the original cables that came out? Why we got a bare one in the original one?
So I did some research back and I've taken some notes from people that taught me over the years. I wasn't there when the cable was developed, it was in the 1950s. But before that we used to use paper impregnated tapes and bare copper like the knob and tube designs. Then we went to lead sheath, rubber, and then PVC, twin and CPC. It started around 1950. Which was just after World War II. There was a massive copper shortage around the globe. America had actually put sanctions on copper to restrict the price. They'd invested in copper mines. Aluminium had been used previously and found to fail. So there was a massive shortage of raw materials, resources, and the design of twin and earth was made to use as little raw materials as possible. Hence the reduced CPC size. No need for the green yellow insulation on there because it doesn't add anything to the actual properties of the cable and how it's used.
Okay, now I'm thinking because you've now gone and made EarthSure, we've obviously made that cable bigger and we're going to have a massive problem, aren't we? Because we're going to have to now have bigger size clips in order to support the cables that you've invented.
That's where it gets a bit clever. So that was the R&D project and how we came about it. So the cable is the same size as normal twin and CPC.
When you say same size, obviously conductors are going to be the same size. Are you talking about the physical size of the completed cable with the identified protective conductor?
The physical size of the outer cable and the conductors themselves inside are the same. So if we looked at these reels here, two of these are EarthSure and two are twin and CPC.
Okay, which ones are the EarthSure and which ones are the twin and CPC?
No idea. I'll ask you to point out which one's which.
I don't know, because I'd have to try and have a cheeky look in there. But yeah, you can see they're physically the same size drums, the same size cable. As we look at them, we can see those dimensions are identical. So that's great. You've solved a problem there that all of a sudden we're not having to have new clips. And especially when we start thinking about maybe those ones for premature collapsing that have been designed for twin and earth cables.
Yeah, most of the cable, it's been around since 1950s, so all of the accessories, clips, even switches, sockets, etc., terminations, ferrules have all been designed around a standardised product which is these dimensions, and it's been the same for decades.
Okay, nobody likes change in the electrical industry, but I think we might quite like this change because I can think of some great examples of where it's going to save you a bit of time. But I've got a problem. BS6004 and BS6004 are not going to recognise this new EarthSure cable, therefore no one's going to install it, are they, Aaron?
That was one of the biggest stumbling blocks with the product. So if something is not basic approved, especially on twin and earth, people won't use it. It's very critical to that part of the industry. So EarthSure is basic approved.
Oh, wow. Weren't necessarily expecting that. So what have you done to change its design then? Because obviously you must have shrunk it down in order to get it into those clips. What's changed?
So we worked with our R&D team and the BASEC technical committee. We have done changes to the product. We've enhanced the mechanical and electrical properties of the materials inside.
Okay.
So the sheathing is a different grade to normal twin and CPC. We've then gone through that with BASEC and they have now agreed that the design offers at least the same degree of safety as the BS7671 equivalents, and they would then give basic approval on the product.
So it's got basic approval. What about ongoing testing of the cable throughout, obviously, the life of it?
So part of that approval process, we've committed to long-term basic approval. So it will become part of our normal testing regime. Basic come to our factory multiple times in the year, normally 4. They take random samples from production, they take it to their lab, and they're regularly tested in their lab to make sure that the cable meets the design that we both agreed on, and Basic say it offers at least the same degree of safety.
They come and mark your homework effectively, don't they?
They do, in a very strict and stringent way.
Okay, we've circled around it a little bit. Obviously, research and development, the time to develop this product after stealing my idea, obviously is going to be at a cost to Doncaster Cables. That cost has to be passed on to the electrical contractor. So can we break the news now of what we think this is going to cost somebody as they walk into their electrical wholesaler, Aaron?
We are going to take all those research and development costs and the time that we put into it, and we are going to sell it to our wholesalers at the same price as Twin and Earth.
Wow, the same price. We were not expecting that. So I think we can comfortably say then, can't we, that we're saving ourselves time, hopefully, by making the job a lot easier. I'm thinking of downlights. How many times have we stripped those cables back and put our small piece of identifying sleeving on and it's dropped back down to us? Okay, and we're picking it back up, save ourselves a bit of time, and obviously making off things like socket outlets and all the rest of it. So I take it you've restricted this to only maybe 1.15 and 2.5 cables. Is that true?
We have got the basic approval on the full range, so we've got from 1mm to 16mm 2-core. We've also got basic approval on the 3 cores. To start the manufacturing run, we have already manufactured this and it's in the process again at the minute. We're starting with 1mm, 1.5 and 2.5 2-core and CPC.
Okay, and as this video is launched, you're going to be able to do pre-orders on that cable, aren't you?
Yeah, it's very difficult to judge the interest in what the product's going to be, so we've made our manufacturing runs our first guess. We'd ask people to go to their wholesalers, ask them to pre-order EarthSure so we can get a better idea of what quantities are actually needed. We'll either have loads in stock or it'll sell out and we won't have enough, but we're only going to find that out as we go through. So pre-orders are the best way. We're making it now and we're looking to ship this out to wholesalers in March.
Okay, that's March 2024. Now from me, from what you've said, it's exactly the same price as the other ones. Why wouldn't I want the circuit protector to be identified? It's not necessarily what we're calling insulation. It's identified, isn't it, with the green and yellow around the actual protective conductor, isn't it?
Yeah, we've called it a pre-identified CPC, so it's a very thin layer of EarthSure compound that we've put over the CPC just to identify that in there and just save the need for sleeving. Okay,
and with that in mind, that means there is some ways in which you should have best practice for actually stripping the cable in order that you make sure that protective conductor stays identified, and we'll show you that in the video on screen now.